Hi, this is Tracy Armstrong. I want to talk to you about something that I feel is an interesting thought, interesting subject. Sometimes you have things that come into your mind and you just let them go. But if they keep coming back to you, you have to address them. You have to think about them. You have to target them. You have to talk about them. You have to rehearse them, whatever it may be. You have these things that are just rolling around. And so the more I thought about this thing that I'm going to tell you in a moment, this thing, the more I was really curious about it. So I started to research it. I was thinking about doll houses. I don't know. One day it just popped in my mind. Talk about doll houses. I'm thinking, well, I don't know anything about doll houses. So I started to just look into doll houses. So I found out some curious and some interesting things about doll houses. Doll houses, first of all, I don't know if a guy wearing this color shirt should be talking about doll houses, but I'm doing it. Doll houses. I'm old enough to have been around a doll house. I've never owned one myself, except for one I bought for my daughter. But there is something about doll houses that doll houses didn't start as a toy for kids. I didn't know that. I thought doll houses are always designed for kids, but doll houses, they were designed for the affluent and for the wealthy, for those that had already built beautiful homes or had this lifestyle that they wanted, and they created an alternative life in a dollhouse, or they created this other place, kind of like a place of entertainment for adults. And what was interesting, it wasn't just that they had, a house. These were mansions. Some of them were upwards to $1 million in cost to build and to furnish. They had furnishings that were like real, like style furniture, not plastic furniture like the Barbie, but real furnishings like what you would have in your house, a Victorian style furnishings. It was one of the doll making places. One of the doll making companies was out of Amsterdam, where my wife's from Holland. She's from Amsterdam. And I thought that's amazing because they were always into something creative. But they're creating, and it just took off, and it just became this massive thing that people wanted during that era to have doll houses in their house. And they would take really like lifelike miniatures and put them into the doll house, and they would take lifelike miniatures of people, lifelike miniatures of furniture, lifelike miniatures of paintings. Like a Van Gogh, they would have or a Rembrandt or something. They would have that painting, and they would literally have real, authentic Rembrandts or Van Goghs or some famous artists, and even writers, authors would redo their books in the small sizes. So really lifelike, but bring it down into a small, entertainable environment. I thought that was interesting. I thought that it was interesting that we like to actually look at people living. I mean, kind of internet right now, it's like a modern day dollhouse where people are just kind of viewing people's lives and viewing other possibilities and other options and not really getting inspired to do anything. What I found out about dollhouses is that people didn't actually build them with an idea of using their imagination that this is what I'm going to go for next. I'm going to get the kind of car I want. So like you come to my office, I have a kind of car that I want in the future, and I have a kind of things that I see myself stepping into. But in this, they didn't have that. They didn't have planes on their screensavers. They didn't have any of those things. They had just doll houses that were just for looking and entertaining. But I think the best use of your imagination, because that's why I'm talking about doll houses, is really to talk about this word imagination, that the best use of your imagination is to use it in such a way that it actually spurs on a role that you become. That you become what you see. You become what that is. And so it's interesting, as the doll houses increased, and they increased in value, there's companies that started to produce them so that anybody could get them. So then the quality went down, and it just became very common to where now children use doll houses as a playing. And there's 3 levels of the imagination I think the doll house engages. I would say I'm not sure how powerful the 3rd level is in a doll house, but the first is. The first is it engages dreaming. It engages the ability to dream and to see things, but not to the point that I'm going to dream of who I'm going to be in the future or how I'm going to get this, but it engages me to the point of dreaming as if I'm sleeping. Now think about dreaming in your sleep. You don't get to run. You physically don't get to do anything. It's really actually strange when you are so busy in your dream state and you shock yourself up running. Or I do that. I'm physically, my physical body gets involved. Well, that's dreaming. And sometimes I think when we're like, I'm dreaming, I'm just dreaming. Now, what are you dreaming of? I'm dreaming of this. And it's like a dream state. It's like a sleep state where you're actually not physically engaging yourself. You just have all these mental pictures that are just kind of flooding you, and you're not actually intentionally applying imagination to these pictures. Can you see how that will get you nothing? To be in a dream state or sleep state of imagination, where you're just kind of watching it, entertained by it, but not at all participating in it and not allowing it to be a part of you and you a part of it. You're not becoming involved. You're actually just watching, just on the outside, third person view. Now that is never going to help you be successful. If you're just watching other people thrive, just watching other people get excited, you're just watching other people talk about what they're going to do, that's never going to give you the kind of influence and impact that you want. You need to get involved. So that first level of imagination is wonderful for watching a movie, and it's wonderful for all those things, but we don't actually see ourselves as the police officer chasing someone down. We don't actually engage it to the level that it's actually becoming a part of us and we're becoming a part of it, which is extremely important that you change your position when you're imagining. When your imagination is going, you have to change your position. You are no longer just seeing it, but you are it. You're no longer just watching it, but you're in the middle of it participating. And participation is going to be the key. If your imaginations and you see yourself participating, you become that. But if you in your imagination, you're just watching someone do something, you're not going to become it. You're just entertained by it. It's interesting. Yay, that's wonderful that they're getting it done. But you yourself, you're not accomplishing anything. The other thing I noticed in the dollhouse scenario, in our imagination, is that there is a fantasy. It's a fantasy. Even when we go down to the Barbie level of dollhouse, well, we just had this huge, 10-room Barbie dollhouse that we bought for my daughter when she was younger. And you know what? We had the Ken car, and she didn't want Ken, she wanted G.I. Joe. So we got G.I. Joe for her. And we built this place. It had furniture, plastic furniture. All of it was breakable stuff. It wasn't it wasn't $1 million. It was just Barbie. But you know what it does? It activates the fantasy, but it doesn't activate the fantasy to the point that it becomes a role. It's a role playing, but not role becoming. And fantasy, or imagining to the point that it's just a fantasy, it never is going to come to pass. That is a dangerous kind of imagination, because you literally get the emotions of it and you get the satisfaction of it without ever giving yourself to it. And that's, again, dollhouse imagination. We want to go past the dollhouse imagination. There's some benefits of it, some very positive things we're going to talk about in a moment. But just the first stages of this imagination, I think, are just very, very, it allows you to be mediocre, allows you just to say, okay, I'm fantasizing. Now, if the person who is there and their role playing is actually helping them understand how to have conflict resolution between a husband and a wife, and they're actually saying, when I'm a wife, I'm going to be like this. When I'm a husband, I'm going to be like this. But it's not like that. What it's like is, you sit down, you go over there, get my car, you go over there, right? That's not realistic. That's not how relationships actually work. And so that kind of fantasy is not helpful. And that's how most people use their imagination. They use their imagination in this kind of fantasy role playing that they'll never become it. They'll never become it. You'll never be the guy that's slaying the dragon in the Dungeons and Dragons game. You'll never be that guy. And all that's entertainment, but you got to know what it is. You got to know that your imagination needs more than just that entertainment. Your imagination needs an opportunity to feed you images that allow you to become that role. Then the third thought that I had is that these guys who build, these are real architects that build these original dollhouses that are just amazing houses. They built these, and these are really strong structure, but they never built it in a schematic that they plan on duplicating. They never built it to scale. So if I were to take two worlds, I would take the dollhouse construction, which has big rooms that are designed for you to be able to put all of these things in it. It has an outside image, but none of it is to scale. It's not measured with a scale in mind. It's measured with the ability to entertain and be entertained with it. If you look at an architect's drawings, an architect actually designs, or architect's, let's say, model, the architect models is going to be really a scale. It's really going to be a schematic of what they desire to build. You see the difference? One is designed to build, one is built to make believe, and the other one is I'm going to believe to make, right? And so we want to actually shift that around a little bit. Instead of just having our imagination just for make believe, let's have our imagination also for believing to make. I'm going to actually lay out this to the level, small level, so I can scale it up to the point. But I need to make sure that my measurements, my ideas, my thoughts are pretty clean here, and so that I can scale it up. Over here, I'm not going to try to scale. I'm just actually, my goal is to watch, to look, to participate only with my eyes, not with involvement. I'm going to make believe. I want us to believe that we can make something. And I want us to use our imaginations in a different way. So as I'm looking at this, I'm looking at these two worlds. So let me bring these two worlds together. Often what we have in the people that I work with is they actually use their imagination here in the corporate setting. Let's say that model that is by an architect, it's all numbers. 1 + 1 = 2. This measurement, this height, and this weight. That all is very, very direct and very measurable. And so you can actually measure when you're successful. And you know when things are working, when things are not working. So we give our imagination to that. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, and I'm going to get to the top of the ladder. I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the CEO. I'm going to be the vice president. And so we have these very measurable achievements. And so we give our imagination to that. And we are imagining in because we like to imagine that because the result, the pay value is very clear of what I'm going to get out of it and where the rewards are going to be. And I know exactly how to measure when I'm having impact. The problem is we come to a dollhouse at home. I'm talking about some people that I work with, not anybody specific in mind right now, but just I've dealt with this enough to where I have someone that says, I'm really, really successful. I want to go to my next level here. And I'm like, but you're sabotaging your next level over here because you're being eaten up by the guilt that your kids, you're so busy over here watching this that you kind of just been watching your children from a third person place. And you've watched them grow, and you don't engage them and encounter them, and you're actually just dollhousing them while you're architecting this. And I think that that's very dangerous that we would have that. And so just as we would look at the dollhouse and we would say, whether it's mom or Mr. Mom or whatever it is, we have these very departmentalized areas in our lives that we're able to say in the living room, I'm like this, or I'm a kitchen person, or I'm a bedroom person, or whatever it is. And you have these departmentalized. But you know what I realized when I'm studying and thinking about this dollhouse thing and thinking about the schematics and the schematic design and that real structured design of an architectural model? I'm thinking about this. With the architectural model, they put people in it, but the people are not the issue. The people are not the thing that you're actually designing that for. You're designing it to build a structure, and oh, by the way, we need a car, and we need a tree, and that is so clinical that it doesn't actually engage empathy, love, compassion, and you can actually get to the top without actually having any of those values in your life if you know how to work it, right? If you know how to work that. Over here, that person loses their family. That person, but you're looking at this design needs empathy, needs compassion, and needs all of these other things. So what if we actually change the playing game? We changed the playing field, and we actually said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually not be just the corporate guy, and we're not going to just be the guy that's at home just loving these departmentalized areas. I find that we don't actually imagine ourselves in all of these departments. What kind of father am I going to be? What kind of husband am I going to be? What kind of, pet person am I going to be? And we go through every room of the dollhouse and really create an imagination of my role in that, not just looking at it. And we don't do that. What we do over here, we sometimes don't do at home. And I'm thinking maybe the best posture is to bring these things a little bit closer and make sure that there's not an environment or anything that I'm engaging that I haven't actually given imagination to, in the sense that is beyond fantasy, beyond dreaming, and beyond schematics. I'm actually dreaming to the place where I become that, and I'm imagining to the place that I become that. I'm fantasizing to the place that I become that. And I'm actually not leaving any gaps. I'm going to imagine what I'm like as a husband. I'm going to imagine what I'm like as a wife if you're a woman, or I'm going to imagine what I'm like as a parent. I'm going to imagine what I'm like, whatever it is. Imagine what it is, because we do that at office. We do that at work. We do that on purpose when something's on the line. But we're losing a lot of beautiful things in our lives because we're not spending the time just filling up our lives with roles that give us the empowerment to engage all of those environments. So maybe I don't want to just be the dad. I don't want to just be, but maybe I should actually approach my life more like a city planner, where I'm going to look at every environment of my life, and I'm going to actually pre-design and pre-describe a role. So over here at work, I have this role. I'm the man that is encouraging or building or uplifting, whatever it may be. Over here, I'm the father that's always loving and engaging. I'm the husband that's always complimentary, that's loving and engaging or compassionate or attentive or aware, whatever that is. Then over here in the bathroom, the bedroom, all these other things, you want to create these roles. Whatever those roles would be. And then over here, you want to create the roles. But in your community, what role are you? What role are you playing in your community? What role are you playing in the school that your children go to? What role are you playing in the church that you go to? Imagine those roles as well. Build the whole world, and you'll find yourself in a healthy position, healthy place. I know I took a long time telling you this, but I wanted to encourage you. This is what I've been thinking about in the DollHouse, and how am I actually using my imagination? Am I using my imagination like a person who has a dollhouse? Am I using my imagination like a person who has a architectural model that's in front of me, where the people and the trees, none of that matters. What matters is what I'm building, and none of that other matter? Or am I actually using my imagination more like a city planner or a mayor? You know, they used to have this, it probably is still very popular, but it was called Foursquare or something like that. And my friends would send me things, and they'd say, I'm the mayor of something. I'm like, oh, that's great. Be the mayor. But what if we actually positioned ourselves and possessed in us this designer that says, you know, I am actually the mayor of my domain. I'm the governor, I'm the president, and I'm actually going to imagine myself in every area, in every compartment. I'm not going to compartmentalize my life. I'm going to actually consolidate my life by using my imagination to live in each one of these compartments. What do you look like as this? What do you look like as that? What do you look like as that? And really go for it. Set it as the goal. If you want more on that goal or role, I believe that the way we reach goals is really by setting and locking in the role. I do a YouTube video on goal setting, which really talks about role setting. And if you learn, it teaches you how to set roles and how to establish that role to where you're going to live in it. Whenever I'm meeting with someone, we're talking about goal setting, I immediately go, okay, what's your objective? But ultimately, I have to get them in that role. When they're living that role, the objective will be accomplished. It's an easier task to get someone in the role than they just have someone trying to go by a checklist goal. All right. So I hope that encourages you. Use your imagination, build the world that you want, create the world that you want to live in, create it. Don't leave it departmentalized, make it bigger. Look at the whole world and establish what you want to look at it, what you want it to look like, and then do it in the morning. Imagine it in the morning. Imagine it in the night. Imagine it. Give yourself to that role. Go to the YouTube on goal setting by Tracy Armstrong. Also, go to our website, tracyarmstrong.com. I have more information there, more resources there for more tools for you at tracyarmstrong.com. There's Academy of Influences, other things that are there that are available for you. Also, go to our Facebook community for Barrier Busters. Barrier Buster, it's at Barrier Buster app on Facebook. Join that community. Gonna have more videos like this coming out to you. And then I want you to download the Barrier Buster app. There's a walkthrough on it so you can know how to do it. And the goal is just open it every day, use it every day, and you will coach yourself to your next level. Break through barriers, break through limits. We'll see you next time. And join, subscribe to this YouTube, and we'll be back to see you in a day, couple days. Soon, we'll be right back to see you. We'll look forward to it. Live the best life you can live. You live by design.